Okay, and I'm back. And you know what else is back? Invincible! Yeah, Invincible, the Amazon animated superhero TV show is back. Episode 2 came out today. I mean, if I load this on Friday, it came out today. And it was pretty cool, so let's break it down. Welcome to the newest episode of SDW.
Super Dario World!
Dario again, then I just want to be Dario again, then life I love is making podcasts with my friends. Oh, I can't wait to get Dario again. Alright, so I had to do the song now because I had an issue last week with my last podcast, the Dungeons & Dragons one. The service that I used to load the podcast would not let me load it. Apparently, I sing too good. You know, my voice is too beautiful. And the algorithm that they use, or the AI or whatever, was like, no, this is not a podcast, it's a song, and this is supposed to be a platform for podcasts, so we can't load you. So I had to fight it. I fought it most of the week, and finally they approved it. But in order to avoid that, I guess I'm switching where the song goes now. So maybe it's a little weird. Maybe I need to figure something out. I don't know, but the point is, the song is still here to stay. I'm still enjoying doing it. But let's get into it. Before I get into it, let me give you a quick reminder that any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can find me at DarioSDW and at Super Dario World on Instagram. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to this channel. If all goes well, I should be doing this weekly. You know, weekly review of the latest episode of Invincible, which I enjoy doing. I'm not going to be able to, since I'm doing it in the car, I'm not going to be able to, pull up images for every single thing, but I might load one or two. Why not? Why not? Let's see how it goes. I'm going to be playing this one by ear. But the point is, Season 2 is back, and before I even get into the first episode of Season 2, many of you might not know this, but there's actually a special episode called Adam Eve. So if you're watching it on Prime, click on the season tab, and there's going to be like season 2.202, and that's a special episode that shows you kind of like the backstory of Adam Eve. Is it relevant to this season? I don't think it's too relevant, but it's fun. It's a good episode. It's enjoyable to watch. Adam Eve is an amazing character, and so if you want to check it out, you can do it there. Her backstory is interesting enough to deserve its own little special. But I don't think it's going to be super relevant for Season 2. At least I don't think. But, so, going into Episode 1 of Season 2, spoiler-free section. The episode's fun. The action's fun. It's brutal. The storyline, by the way, full disclosure, I read the comics at this point because Season 1 was so good that I wanted to read the comics. There's a lot of things that are different. Well, there's a few things that are different. Some things are handled better in the show, like the fights particularly, the pacing of them and all that stuff. And some things are handled better in the comics, which is more story related, more character related. And I'll get into that in a second. But let me just tell you, things are about to get super crazy in the Invincible world. And I mean bonkers, insane. And I'm all in on it. I'm all in. So first off, right off the gate, this episode begins with one of the greatest uses of the song Karma Police I've ever heard in my life. Now I have a love-hate relationship with Radiohead, but the way that they used Karma Police was just all money. I loved it. It got me into the right mental spot for the episode. It fits perfectly with what's going on in Mark's head. So kudos to them. Loved it. The music was still phenomenal overall. But Season 2 begins with our boy Mark in a complicated state of mind. Now, I feel like it was better handled in the comics because in the comics, Mark doesn't really want to talk about it that much. Here, he's a little bit more whiny in the sense, and they want to explore that more because I understand a comic book audience and a TV audience is very different. You need to remind the TV audience of what happened over a year ago. I don't remember. I think Invincible came out 2021, so you need to kind of remind him of his state of mind. I understand that, but for those of you who are curious, basically, at the end of season 1, Omni-Man, who is Mark's father, came out basically as confessed that he's basically there to conquer the planet on behalf of his people, and he wanted Mark to join him. Mark said no, and so he beat the crap out of Mark and was supposed to kill him, but in the end he couldn't. He left, and it's a beautiful moment. It's a great. Invincible is an amazing show by itself, so I highly recommend that you watch it. And again, things are going to get crazier. So it starts after Mark's healed, and he's still a month after Omni-Man left the planet, and so they pretended that his dad died in an explosion and all that stuff, and so Mark is trying to get back into his life, normal life, and everybody knows that his dad died, but they don't know that his dad was Omni-Man, so they're treating him, with a little bit of kindness, and people want him to talk and all that stuff, but Mark sort of refuses that. And in many ways, and again, this is better handled in the comic books, because in the comic books, Mark refuses to get into it too much. He's strong, and he doesn't really believe that anybody can even understand what he's going through, and so he wants to be strong for his mom, he wants to be strong for the planet, he wants to be strong overall. But he is dealing with a lot of anger issues that you see bubbling up. So I particularly enjoyed that in the comic. Here in the show, they're starting to present the seeds of that. I'm not sure how well they're going to handle it, but they present a few seeds. Again, he's talking a bit too much about it, but I get it. It's a TV show. So overall, it's about 40 minutes. I don't know if it's going to be... I think the old episodes, or episodes of season 1, are a bit shorter, but the season started off pretty brutal, which is great. If you remember the end of episode 1 of season 1, it was extremely brutal. This one also starts off kind of brutal. They did a few things that I'll get to it in the spoiler section. But they did one thing that I really liked, which is they handled Amber a little bit better. Now, one of my big issues with season 1 is that Amber is extremely annoying, and I hated her. Now, for those of you who read the comics, Amber is not really a big part of the story. She's kind of in the background. She's the girlfriend that Mark goes and hangs out with, and when he's not invincible, when he's just Mark. They're together and they study. They have, boring, cute couple moments that you don't really get to see. And so, in the comics, she's like a simple little blonde chick. She's a high school student. And so you don't really care about her because you don't really see much of her. In the TV show, they made her one of the main characters. They changed her race, which would be fine, except the problem is, well, I wouldn't be fine. I hate it when they do that. It really annoys me. But I get it. They wanted to draw the distinction between her and Adam Eve. I get it. I don't like it, but whatever. But the big issue is that they changed her personality. Her personality is super annoying. Extremely annoying. I don't know why they changed her that way. I don't know why they made her an activist, kind of, or like a volunteer, or very, very too involved. And I just hated her. And a perfect example between the difference in personalities between comic book Amber and show Amber is you can look up the panel. It's people do this comparison of the reaction that blonde Amber has when she finds out that that Mark is invincible, and then the reaction that show Amber has, I guess we could call her Black Amber, has when she finds out in the show that Mark is invincible. I remember I complained incessantly about that. It was like, Mark says like, "Oh, I'm invincible," and Black Amber is like, "Oh yeah, I know." It's like, well, why are you breaking up with him? I remember that particular episode where she's like, "No, you're a coward. You left, blah blah." And then Mark's like, "Well, actually, I'm a superhero, and I was there the whole time, and I saved your life." And she's like, "Well, I knew the entire time, and still fuck you." And it's like, what? I mean, what? What do you mean? Like, if you knew the entire time, then why would you be mad about him and say that he wasn't there when he was? I don't get it. It's stupid. It was really dumb writing. And again, I really hated how they handled Amber season 1. Too annoying. Now, at least for the first episode of season 2, she's playing the role of the good girlfriend. You know, after after your boyfriend's dad kind of admits that he wanted to take over the planet and he killed a whole bunch of people and he kind of used you to kill a bunch of people, you know, it's okay. It's cool that she's doing the role of the good girlfriend. So, all right, that was always meant to be her role. And actually, the way that Amber's handled in the comics, I think, is phenomenal because she's kind of a complication for Adam Eve. So, you know, everybody loves Adam Eve. Everybody's like, oh, it should be Adam Eve, best girl, whatever. And since you don't really get to see Amber, you're like, why is Mark with that dumb idiot when he could try to hit on Adam Eve or something? But then there's a moment, and it should appear in this season. I think that they already missed the boat on this. They kind of already fucked up. But in the comics, there's a moment where you're like, Amber is the best fucking girl. Like, Amber is the fucking best. And it's not really, and it's because she's exactly what Mark needed at that particular moment. And again, I don't want to go too specific on what it is, but it was exactly what Mark needed at that moment. And so you're like, this chick's the best. Like, screw Adam Eve. Like, this chick is the freaking best, at least for that particular moment. And there it kind of became clear to me, like, oh, this is why she wasn't really a character before. That's why we didn't really get to see that. And so it was very well handled. I think you can't do that anymore in season 2 because they kind of already fucked up. So good that they're making Amber fall into that particular role because she's kind of Mark's anchor to reality in a way, into the real world. And it sucks that I think they kind of missed the boat on actually making Amber a phenomenal character. I don't know how they're going to handle her, but we'll see. At least for episode 1, I didn't think she was annoying. I thought she was like, okay, cool. She's all right. She's a good girlfriend, which is exactly what you should do in that moment for your partner. You know, so well handled there. As far as I already mentioned, Mark, you start seeing dramas appearing with several villains or complications that were left behind. There's tension within the superhero world. There's tension with the government. So a bunch of really good stuff. Well, a good setup, good of enough setup for the season. Now I'm going to get a little bit into spoilers. So again, the show's still phenomenal. I highly recommend it. Watch it. So I'm going to get just a little bit into spoilers that I didn't like. And I'm torn because I'm not 100% sure if I remember this correctly. But again, the spoiler alert. At the end of the episode, when there's I forget this dude's name, but let's call him the brain dude, the dude who transports himself between dimensions, he kind of sacrifices his utopia to save Invincible. Now, the way that I remember it in the comics, I think Mark was kind of losing, but still holding his own in a way, and the fight kind of got out of control, and so it's Mark's fault that the machine got fucked up. And so the things that happened to that guy afterwards, again, if you see the end of the show, you see what happens to him, were Mark's fault. Maybe not 100% his fault, but it was because of his direct involvement that happened to him, and that's where that kind of hatred comes from. So I didn't like that. I need to see where they're going with this. And I think they're gonna go to kind of a moment that's bullshit, and I hate it. I also hate when the hero gets saved by bullshit too. So I don't like that. It concerns me, particularly because it's how they're gonna handle the storyline of a particular villain. And if they're gonna add more bullshit to it, I'm really gonna hate it. But the other stuff is still good enough. Again, it's just a little tiny detail, but it's kind of critical, you know? There's a big difference between you kind of sacrificing your goal and getting fucked up in the process, and between somebody else fucking up your goal and you getting fucked up in the process. So it changes things a bit. I don't know what they're changing it to. I just don't like it, because the way that they did in the comics is phenomenal. Again, the comic books are phenomenal. There's minimal things that I would change. There's a few improvements that they've done on the show. Again, as I mentioned before, a few more fights, a bit more action. Obviously, they know the animation, they make things a little bit bloodier and stuff. And so they've handled that part well. They haven't handled other stuff as well. And I don't think there's much you need to change, because it's already so good. So less is more sometimes. But overall, it's a good start to the season. Fun. I got excited. I see my boy Mark back on screen. So I'm very much looking forward to the rest of the season. Again, things are going to get fucking crazy. Extremely crazy. I remember I was reading the comic at one point, and I got the omnibus version, so it's like a Bible. And so I'm in the middle of the second omnibus, which is after the whole Omni-Man fiasco. And there's a point where I just could not stop, because just when you think, all right, this was the climax, it's about to die down and stuff, there was another one. And there was another one. It just kept getting crazier and crazier. And you're just like, when is this gonna stop? I can't stop reading. My boy Marcus is gonna get it. So you just kind of have to keep going and keep going and keep going. And you're just like, my God, what is this? When are they gonna give this poor kid a break? So, like I said, fun stuff. I'm very much looking forward to the rest of the season, the rest of the show. If they continue handling a few things better, the music part in particular, like I can't tell you how much it got me in the zone, Karma Police. And I have a love-hate relationship with Radiohead. I can't stress that enough. So look forward to it. Exciting stuff is in the horizon. I saw the trailer, and it's like, okay, it's this storyline, this storyline, this storyline. They're mostly good. There's, I think, one that I don't particularly love, but I wouldn't say it's bad. I'm very picky. You know, I complain a lot about a lot of things. So there you go. I think that's a good place to stop. I wish I could get into more details, but I need to see the episode with that. There's got to be a way for me to do it. I don't know. But whatever. I guess I'll write stuff down. I'll make some notes to be like, all right, I need to talk about this in particular. It's not, as you can tell, it's not my regular breakdown. I'm not actually going point by point. Or maybe I should wait to do it at home. I don't know. Whatever. I already did it this way. So maybe next week I'll see how this one turns out. But as always, like this video, share this video, subscribe to this channel. It really helps me out. Comments, questions, or suggestions, you can find me at DarioSDW and at Super Dario World. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you again next time.